guys, I'm back and I've done some drawing, and now I want to give you a very quick painting demonstration. And you guys all know that if you run into trouble, call me or text me, and I'm delighted to help you with any of this. I've had many years of experience painting. I'm a painter. And I can show you how you can get a start with this. Some of you may have some experience, but the most valuable thing is to practice, to get more comfortable and more confident, which you do by actually doing it. And what I always do, I'm going to start out with some ink. So what I've got is I've got my ink, I've got a brush, I've got a palette, I've got water. It's very important that you have a rag or paper towels and a surface to work on that's really a work surface. You could put some newspapers down on a table. I'm in my studio, so this is a crummy surface. I don't mind if I get paint on it. So I'm going to aim the camera down so you can see what I'm going to do. I'm going to first ink some of the lines, and then I'm going to apply color. Okay. So I'm going to aim this down. I'm going to move the, I'm going to point it over this way. And I'm hoping you can see. So here we go. Well, before I get involved with this, I'm going to show you that I did some more drawings. So you can see the path of action that was drawn in pencil based on this template and the path of action. So I made 14 positions for the airplane to be in. I decided I wanted a consistent landscape, so I just traced from here the landscape on each one of these. Before I start inking this, my final version of this, which is on the good paper, the Bristol paper, I'm going to first go to some scrap paper. And I want everybody to experiment on scrap paper, not just with the drawing, but with the ink and the color as well. Realize. So here we go. I did a little drawing with the template onto some scrap paper. I actually made some marks over here. I'm going to make some more, because there is nothing better than practicing getting familiar. So I'm going to make some marks. Just, these are not purposeful. It's just how I can, it's a way for me to learn how the paint moves. So I have had a lot of caffeine today, so my hand may not be as steady as I'd prefer, but we're going with it anyway. So here we go. And actually I'm turning this so you can see too. So I have my rag here. I'm going to make extra marks over here just to make sure I have the amount of ink that I want on the brush. So I'm making a mark over here. So this is a scrap version of my scrap paper. This is what ultimately I'm going to be drawing on. So do you see how I'm using a light touch? Once again, you want to practice, and in fact, I want to see all of your preparatory work. So you're going to document the practice, and this, and it's a way to really give you incentive to actually practice, because it's going to make a big difference. And so let's see. So here I just inked in these lines, and if you make mistake, you can use white tape and just cover it up, or you can use some white paint, which I have around here, and cover something up. But remember, I don't expect these to be perfect. I expect you to give them a try and do your best. So I used a marker here. I used ink here. Use the ink and not the marker. It's a little hard to see here, but the marker isn't going to have as beautiful a black and as beautiful a line as you can learn to do with a brush. So I've practiced on my scrap paper here. I'm going to actually do a little bit with the drawings. See, these are the drawings that I made with the consistent landscape and with this little airplane. I haven't drawn out every single one of the 14 frames because I'm eager to show you how to ink up. So this is going to be the final version. And remember, do not draw the path of action that I've traced onto here. And in fact, I could erase that right now before I start inking. So here we have one of the frames. I'm going to erase the path of action because that's, remember, that's your guide. We're not going to see it in the drawing. So here goes. So I'm going to use a light touch. Keep your scrap paper at your side. I'm going to make sure that I have the amount of ink I want. I'm going to dip a little bit more in, make sure I have the amount I want, and I'm going to draw these lines with the paintbrush. Sometimes I forget to breathe, which is not as a good thing. Now I'm about to do this little airplane. So I did part of the landscape. But you see how the airplane is aimed down? And it's actually, the nose of the airplane is covering up the landscape. So I'm going to make sure that I don't draw the landscape over the airplane. So do you see what I did? Now another thing you can do, if you do something that you didn't intend or make a mistake, is you could take a little scrap of Bristol paper, the good paper you're going to be using, and draw another version of the airplane, cut it out, and just glue it on, because collage works with this approach. I'm going to ink in the airplane right now. So let me turn it. I'm hoping you can see it. Maybe I'll try so it's not upside down. I'm hoping you guys can see. No, that's not going to work. You're just going to have to see this upside down for my first video. You guys, I hope you can be patient with me. So I'm going to ink in the outline of the airplane. One of the keys to success with zoetropes is because you have about a second of viewing time for your audience. And so if you get into elaborate drawings and subtle color, and a lot of detail, it's not going to show up. So I've just inked in this airplane. Okay, so I'm going to set my ink aside. You should probably give it a couple minutes to dry. And what I'm going to do is lay out my paints while it's drying, and we'll see. We're going to see if this is a success. So let's see. Today, I think I'm in the mood for a red sky. So in my zoetrope animation, I can make the sky any color I want to. Oh my gosh, look at this. I made a mistake already. See that smudge? That is a little smudge from the ink. Oh, it's probably on my hand. And so I may use some white paint later, or some paper, or maybe the red sky, since it's in the sky, is going to cover this up. So I've got some gouache paint here. I've got some white paint. I've got some yellow paint. Something's going to be yellow here, whether it's the ground, the airplane, or the trees. I haven't gotten that far yet, but I'm going to start with the sky. So I'm taking the paint out. I'm going to bring the palette here. I'm going to lay it out right here. And I'm hoping you can see it. And I think that's really an exciting color. And so let's give this a try. So what I would recommend you do is that you ink up all of your frames first. And also the most important thing is to practice applying the paint on your scrap paper. So I find a lot of beginning painters, people who are just starting out, students, think that a little tiny brush is easier to use than a big brush, like this. I have discovered that a big brush is actually easier, and I'm going to show you in what way it's easier. And once again, I have my rag here. I have my water here. Let's see, I'm hoping you can see this. We'll put the water over here. And I am definitely going to practice on my scrap piece of paper. I want you guys to practice, and I want to see the results. Do not ever throw anything away that you do in this class. I want to see reject drawings. I want to see scrap paper. I want to see practice. So hold on to this, but definitely do more of the experimentation here so you feel more comfortable when you get to the sustained drawing here and the painting. So the first thing, what I find is very helpful with gouache paint, which is what traditional professional animators have used for decades. So, and that's why we're going to be using gouache this semester. If you aren't able to get your gouache in time for turning in this project, you're welcome to use color pencils. You can use Post-it notes. I've got some pink Post-it notes here. You could cut out shapes. I've got some yellow right here. You can use color pencil, but make rich, saturated colors. It's going to make it more dramatic and exciting. So here we go. I dipped my brush in the water. I dried it off a little bit with my rag, and now I'm dipping it in the paint. I find it's best to use the minimum amount of water I can get away with, just so I can get the paint to move, but that it's nice and saturated and opaque. So first I'm going to my completely scrappy scrap area where I'm not going to worry about drawing a tree or anything else. I'm just making marks to get familiar with this. Oh, I love this red. Okay, in fact, I'm not even going to draw over here. I'm going to paint right over here in another part of my scrap paper. So I just made a mark. I'm going to make another mark. And I don't know if you can see this, but you can actually, with a wide brush, you can get very precise. So look at how I'm sneaking up at the edge. I'm going to get some more paint on here. And now I'm going to fill in a place right over here. So do you see how I'm using part of the brush and I'm using the end of the brush here? And I'm just patiently and gently filling in. So do you see how I filled in a shape? Okay, so, and I don't even care that this is this drawing's over here, it's upside down. This is just practice. Practice with all the colors and practice so much that you get really comfortable with this. So let's see, I'm going to make a red sky and I'm going to do it on my scrap piece, just dipping like the tiniest amount of water. I'm getting this paint loaded up. I'm sorry that this isn't on here. There's the palette. Let's see if I can get the palette in the picture. So I'm dipping in the paint, loading up the brush. I've got my rag if I have too much water. Now I'm going to make a red sky here. And this is my scrap paper. Now notice how I use the tip and I'm going to sneak up. You'll notice that when I'm working, it's harder for me to talk because My brain is focused on visuals rather than the verbals. So do you see how I use the tip of the brush to sneak up on my scrap paper? I'm going to just get the tiniest touch of water or no water, and I'm going to load up the brush again because I can tell I need to. I'm getting used to how this paper and this brush and this paint is working today. So I'm going to sneak up some more. This is really fun for me, and I hope it's going to be fun for you. I love paint. I love getting messy. If you make a mistake, don't worry. Save everything. Call me if you get concerned, and I will give you a pep talk. So here we go. I'm loading up some more paint. I didn't complete this utterly, completely. I need to do a little bit more over here, but I want to go right to I want to go onto this now, just to show you how I do it. So I can see my line is a little shaky. That was the caffeine that I've been drinking all day. See, there we go. But I'm going to take this now and I'm going to apply it here. So here we go. Look at how I'm applying the ink, and I'm kind of sneaking up on the contour. So we want it straightforward. Remember that your audience is only going to have a second to take in all the information that you are going to give them in this. So keeping it straightforward, bright colors, not too many. I am giving you a maximum of 3 colors because, you know, more colors is not necessarily going to make a stronger statement. And I want to get you to see how this can work. Later on in the semester, we can get more involved with subtleties. But here, we're working first with the basics of animation, which is also the basics of bringing elements to life. So how many of you see that I'm sneaking up on the shapes? And I started with the background actually, which I do recommend. I need a drop of water, minimal amount of water. I'm getting more paint. There we go. This somehow keeps going out of the picture area, so I'm putting this aside. So I'm going to sneak up on this. So I'm hoping you can see how I use the end of the brush here. To see how I can sneak in, it's like a wedge or a chisel. That's how I want you to think about this, as a wedge or a chisel. And you can even go back in over this with the black if you want to. But you see how this is not the most, it's not incredibly complicated, the animation that I'm making here, because your audience, as I said before, I've said it a few times, is not going to have a lot of time. So let's see, and in this one, I'm going to get the top. There we go. Okay, so how many of you see we've got a red sky? I've filled it in. It really didn't take all that long. And so we would just do the same with the others. I would recommend before you get to color, do all the inking with your brush over here. And practice, practice, practice. It is impossible to do too much practice. It's going to be a stress reliever, it's going to be a confidence builder, and it's also fun just to move around. And now since I'm just about done, I'm going to just play around with the paint on the brush. So This is not serious. I'm not trying to be careful. At this point, I'm just having fun. And you see how when you use a big brush, it doesn't take very long too, because do you see these big shapes that I'm making here? This is just the scrap paper. Save your scrap paper. I want to see it, and I expect to see it. It's going to be a requirement. I expect to see this. Save it, and take pictures of it, document it, and turn it in when you turn in your zoetrope. Okay, I'm putting my brush in water. I'm going to end this with just a note about your materials. So I'm rinsing out this brush. I'm going to wipe it dry. So this is water-based paint, and it is water soluble. It does not dry like acrylic paint. When acrylic paint dries completely, if it's on your brush, that's the end of your brush. With this gouache paint, you can clean your brush, and this brush will last for years. I've probably had this brush for years. So I'm rinsing out this, and the next thing I'm going to do, because I'm all done for the day, is I'm going to take this down to the sink, and I'm going to gently clean it with soap and water until there's no red in the lather. And then I'm going to rinse out the brush and make sure I shape it so it can dry back to its original shape. Remember, if you have any questions, you can call me at any point. I'm going to aim the camera up again. I've got my scrap here. Here's the scrap. Here is the sustained zoetrope. I've got more pages I'm going to add. Remember, here is my path of action. I expect to see this too. And I know there was something else I was going to say. Let's see. I really can't think of what it was going to be. So I'm going to sign off. Oh, I know what I was going to say. My phone number, I love making sure you guys know this, is area code 302 777 7873. You can text me if you run into trouble, if things aren't going, if you're disappointed in what you do. Do not worry, do not throw anything out. Call me, and I will give you a pep talk. I've had a lot of teaching experience. I can walk you through. This is so much fun, but I'm blathering now, so I'm going to stop the video, and I can't wait to meet everybody and do animation with you and learn all kinds of things too. Okay, signing off now. Bye-bye.